right, so here you go. I was back home in Niagara last weekend, minding my own business. I walked down into my basement where I keep my bar fridge. I keep my bar fridge pretty nicely stocked, and Debbie is great about this too. Trips to the LCBO, I get like a nice box of craft beer. So I think, what am I going to have? A Great Lakes beer, a Bench Brewing down in Beamsville. Collective Arts out of Hamilton, one of my favorites as well. Big Rig, Ottawa area. Good collections. I'm heading down there. I kneel down. I'm genuflecting at the beer fridge thinking, what am I going to treat myself to? And then I hear a noise and I look up above me, hanging over me, a friggin' gray squirrel in my house. And not like up in the attic rustling around, not in a wall somewhere, above my beer fridge, looking down at me like, hey, who are you? What are you doing in my beer fridge? Is that what a gray squirrel would sound like? Anyway, that's my gray squirrel voice for what it's worth. But honest to God, so I was sitting there 3 feet away from me, gray squirrel, invading the holiest of holies in my house, my beer fridge. So I said, I am not going to take this between me and you, squirrel. You're going down. I'm preserving access to my beer fridge, squirrel free. So I called this guy, my next guest, Bill Dowd. Bill is the founder, president, and CEO of Skedaddle. I love that name. Skedaddle. Humane Wildlife Control. He established Skedaddle in 1989, recognizing the need of a professional urban wildlife focusing on humane removal methods. They've since had over 200,000 wildlife removals. How do you know it's not like 100,000 in the same animal twice or 3 times? You don't know that. 200,000 removals and exclusions with environmental-friendly, poison-free methods since day one. Bill has grown Skedaddle to the largest urban wildlife control company in Canada, servicing 75 municipalities in Ontario, Quebec, and Nova Scotia. Bill Dowd, Skedaddle. Welcome back to the show.
Great to be back here. Thank you, Tim.
All right, tell us about your job, because I picture you riding around like in some sort of beat-up Ghostbusters type van with big butterfly nets hanging out the back. Is that what the Skedaddle emergency vehicle looks like?
Maybe in the early years, but, we like to think we're a little more professional with nicely, professionally looking vehicles and always ready to respond to any scenario, whether it's a raccoon in a bedroom or a squirrel on a beer fridge.
All right, now you're smiling. Talk to me about this. You smiled at my squirrel story. You heard all of them. So what do you like about your job?
Well, it's always unique. Every single day is different. Customers are different. The animals are different, though they have specific habits. But, you never can tell what is going to happen when you're dealing with a wild animal. So you have to be on your toes, have to be able to think quickly, and, of course, great customer service. That's all part of being in business for yourself.
So the busiest time of year for you at Skedaddle?
Right now, we are just at the cusp of just going crazy with baby season. We've seen baby raccoons already, baby squirrels. The next few weeks, we're going to get into baby skunks, baby birds, and then later in the summer, we get into baby bat season. So we're right at the time where if you're hearing noises in your attic or in your chimney, don't hesitate. Get them out now before they cause all kinds of structural damage to your home.
But they're cute little babies. I looked at the Skedaddle website. They're adorable little baby raccoons.
They
don't want to keep them. I got to keep them warm.
Well, you want the damage they can do is astronomical.
Tell me more about that.
Well, they'll chew electrical wiring, urinate, defecate. So you have to get your whole attic re-insulated, take out all that contaminated insulation. So even though they are cute and cuddly, they are wild animals. They're enjoying every single city in North America. Every city we go into with a new franchise is having great success because these animals are in our cities with us, and we need to learn to live with them, but most importantly, as a homeowner, we need to animal-proof our homes.
Well, I don't know how the squirrel got in. I think one of my daughters left the door open.
Possibly, but I would.
It wasn't Cody this time. Cody actually last year, folks remember the show I had Bill on last year because I had a groundhog in my backyard last year, and you got him out. He's gone. We had a debate in the family because it was kind of cute dancing like that groundhog on Caddyshack, but it was gone. So the gray squirrel came in. All right, so I've got to proof my house.
Right. More than likely, when squirrels or raccoon come into the living space, and it happens more often than you think. Either people go away on vacation, they come home and a squirrel has just run around their whole house for a week and chewed everything they can. Raccoons will come in down chimneys, open up the damper and crawl across your bed.
They can open the damper?
Yeah,
really?
we've had calls where people are, they go down and pet their cat. They think the cat jumped up on their bed at 3 a.m, and lo and behold, it's a raccoon that's on their bed with them. So, birds, but typically when an animal comes into your living space is typically through an open chimney, whether it be the furnace or fireplace chimney.
So Skedaddle then does a bit of proofing. You would look around, look for vulnerabilities.
Right. Find out where they're getting in. Typically, every single home, there's anywhere from 35 to 50 items on a home that animals can penetrate. So we'll look at all of those, and then we'll make recommendations to put a screen on your chimney, vents on your roof, whatever it takes to give your home that. We give you a lifetime guarantee that, once we get an animal out, they won't get back in.
So if you had to draw a most wanted poster, if I gave you the pen and paper right now, I'll give you markers, make it nice and colorful. The worst possible, most villainous creature to have in your home here in Southern Ontario, what would it be?
It would be either a raccoon breaking in to give birth or squirrels. Both equally as destructive. Raccoon, obviously 35-pound animal walking around above in your attic space. Squirrels are rodents, which mean their teeth are constantly growing, so they always need to be chewing, whether it be on support joists, electrical wiring, causing fire hazards. So those two would be arch villains 1 and 2 in terms of destruction of our properties.
And basically, because this is when they're having the babies, they're trying to find places that are warm. So they're more likely to come into your home in the spring, or are they there through the winter and have the babies in the spring?
Right. All urban wildlife typically have 5 to 10 den sites in a neighborhood. So they'll have a number of homes that they visit, but it's the one that they feel most comfortable in is where they're going to give birth. So, they've probably already been in your home. Maybe you're hearing noises once in a while. Don't hesitate. Call somebody to get them out. And once again, the real solution is not just getting them out, but to animal-proof that structure so they don't get back in.
Red squirrels, gray squirrels, and black squirrels. These are the 3 squirrels that I'm from. There may be other colored squirrels. This is what I see in my neighborhood. We've got, probably 40 to 50 black walnut trees. So I think we're the breeding ground in West Niagara. They like black walnuts, I assume, right? The squirrel population.
Right, all nuts and fruit,
and pine cones.
And pine cones are typically red squirrels.
They're the worst kind, right? I'm going to judge.
Red squirrels are, one of the worst because red squirrels will come in at ground level or roof level, where black or gray squirrels typically come in at just roof level. So the reds can really be challenging for us.
I'm speaking with Bill Dowd, the CEO and president of Skedaddle. Humane wildlife removal in 75 municipalities, by the way, mostly in Ontario, also Quebec and Nova Scotia. You got a question for Bill? Go ahead. Send me a text, 71010, or call 877-518-5151. Here's one for you. Do you have to sneak up on a skunk?
You have to be very, very cautious. Very cautious because, skunks don't have the best eyesight. Typically when they spray your cat or your dog or yourself, it's when, you kind of startle the animal and their defense mechanism is the spraying. So, if you do have a problem with a skunk, you need to walk very, very cautiously, speak very softly. A lot of times they'll walk into open garages or sheds, that type of thing. So just be very, very cautious and cognizant of the animal that they won't see you, but, you'll be seeing them.
But say I got one under my porch, I can walk gently up to it and be quiet, and then I sort of sweet talk them to leave, or I got to get them out at some point.
Skunks can be very challenging because they're excellent diggers and they can dig, almost a foot down and go underneath a deck or a shed. So you need to, typically we dig a trench about a foot deep and a foot wide, put a heavy gauge screen down a foot and out a foot so that's, skunk proof. Of course, first we need to get them out.
What's the strangest animal of which you've been called in to try to remove?
Japanese snow monkeys in Niagara.
Of course. I should have guessed. Japanese snow monkey. They're all over the place, those guys. So come on. How this happened?
Well, a number of years ago, maybe 20 years ago, 25 years ago, we would get calls. I was fresh out of university, Brock University, and, buddies would call me and say, there's a giraffe running around. But anyhow, finally, we got a call from the Ministry of Health that there was 3 monkeys that escaped from somebody's private zoo. Yes. The mother and 2 young. Okay. And that was probably our most most rewarding and most exciting animal and most unique that we've caught in the 28 years we've been in business.
Did you keep one of them as a pet? Just to answer the phones, maybe? Some filing for you?
I don't think that would make a very good pet. Any wild animal. So, no, unfortunately, we found a private zoo that outside of Peterborough that took them on.
So more questions coming in. This is an odd one. I might throw you off with this one. I don't know how far north you go. How do I get a wolverine out of my attic in my cabin in Red Lake, Ontario? You think they mean the comic book hero? Because he is Canadian. All right, that's a tough one. You're not in Red Lake. I don't know what you do. You shoot it.
Wolverines? Yeah. I wouldn't imagine that. I wasn't aware that wolverines are a climber, so I don't know if this might be something.
These are my listeners. They have problems. Okay. Yeah. Why won't the Humane Society touch a skunk? I called last year and they said they wouldn't touch a skunk.
Well, Humane Societies, SPCAs, their mandate is the ethical, humane treatment of all animals, but they really focus on cats and dogs. They're not in the business of, similar if your toilet was leaking, the city isn't going to come out and help you.
All right, so then you call Skedaddle. You can find Skedaddle at
Skedaddlewildlife.com.
Skedaddlewildlife.com. Bill Dowd, president, has saved me from a gray squirrel and a groundhog. I am on a roll. Okay, that's it. That's all. Not dinner with Miller and Maitland tonight. It's sausages and chicken wings before WrestleMania 33. Go Undertaker, kick the whatever at a Roman Reigns. That's where I stand. All right, Andre Prue working the board. Good to see you, sir. Good job today. Ed Eliaki, my hardworking producer. Patrick Sackville in research. My guests, Bill Dowd and Joe Perez, the honest mechanic and the honest animal wildlife removal guy. Fun show. See you next week. It's 5:58.